Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ram to all of you. I wish you very good afternoon and warm welcome all of you. Myself, Pawan Garg, as a moderator and convener of Balotra CP chapter of CIRC of ICI, I express our deep sense of gratitude and heartfelt thanks and welcome to our ICI President, Vice President, CMP Chairman, Vice Chairman. I heartily welcome to our beloved Speaker, CA Keru Dedia sir. On behalf of our entire Balotra CP chapter, we are thankful of ICI for giving this opportunity for organizing the virtual meeting on recent GST amendments and essential consideration for October 2024 GST return filing and capacity building initiatives of CMP. Now, I want to introduce our speaker, CA Keru Dedia sir. Keru Dedia ji is a practicing chartered accountant and partner of the firm Messrs. Sagar Kavna and Company, Jalna. With over 18 years of experience in practice, he gained specialized knowledge and expertise in indirect taxation, compliance, assessments for various categories of clients. A consultant at Namaste Resolution Professionals and having a coaching experience of more than 17 years to students of chartered accountancy. He holds several credentials such as FCA, ISA, certificate course of concurrent audits of banks, peer reviewer, and BCom, etc. He is empaneled speaker by ICI on GST since its introduction in 2017. He has delivered seminars on GST and its related topics at various professionals and social forums. He was the executive committee member of the Akola branch of WIRC of ICI for the term of 2019 to 2022. He served as the chairman of Akola branch of WIRC of ICI for the term 2021 to 22. During his tenure, Akola branch was awarded the second best branch award of WIRC. He is a faculty at Rathi Career Firm, Akola, for the subject indirect taxation. He was also faculty at the ITT batches at the Akola branch of ICI for subjects like Tally, MS Excel, etc. Academic of practices, he has secured 5th rank in his HSC examinations at the Amravati University in the year 2001. His areas of practice is specialization in indirect taxes areas of VAT, GST, and RERA. Second one is bank audits handled for the various public sectors, urban and multi-state cooperative banks in different capacity. His professional activities he served as the vice chairman and treasurer for the Akola branch of WIRC of ICI during 2020-21 and as WICASA Vikasa chairman for Akola branch of Vikasa during the same period. He also served as the secretary and treasurer for the Akola branch of WIRC of ICI during 2019-20. He has been a speaker at seminars conducted by the various branches of WIRC. He is a empaneled faculty tenor for GST by the ICI. We are very thankful. He is the learned on or dominant speaker on the GST. I want to give the mic to our beloved speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the warm introduction. At the outset, I will thank you to the President and the Vice President of ICI, our Honorable President and Vice President. Also, the Chairman and the Vice Chairman for the committee of the members in practice for having this great seminar for the recent amendments on the GST and the points that we need to take care of for filing the return for the month of October 2024 and the various capacity building initiatives by the CMP. Thank you all of you, sir. I also thank you to the committee members of the CMP who are backhand supporting for this seminar, the technical team, today's moderator, Pawan Garg sir, and madam over here, all a very warm thank you. Come on to the session for we move ahead. Today's session is on a very important topic and we all are aware of it that there are n number of changes or the amendments that are being proposed, made implemented in the past month or couple of months. And we all need to take care of now while filing the returns for the month of October 24 and onwards. So what are those things? I'll move ahead with the presentation and the topic one by one, step by step. So recent amendments, we move ahead. I have tried to divide the topic into 6 different parts. Going ahead with the topic, first, changes in various rates with some clarifications issued by the government under the CGST Act. So that is divided into 3 parts. Changes in rates of goods. There are some exemptions given to certain services. Some clarification via the circular for as is and as is where is basis. Second part that I have taken is with regards to the RCM part, to important RCM amendments made applicable from the previous month. One on the metal scrap along with its TDS provisions and another RCM on any immovable property. Next, third part divided it for the ITC content, whereby there is a change in time limit for claiming the ITC as given under section 16(5). Revocation of GST registration, in that case 16(6), a new section which says how to claim the ITC, the time limit for that. A new system coming forward, that is invoice management system. Rule 37A, that has also been implemented. Next, then we go with return filing, whereby there is self-invoicing starting from the 1st November. Adjustment of negative liability. Changes in the B2C transaction reporting part. Corrections that we need to take care of for the year 23-24. Further in future, there is a hard locking of auto-populated values in 3B. The next part that we have made is amnesty scheme, that is section 128A, one of the important things we all are waiting for it. Next, last is others, some of the recent amendments as suggested by the GST Council. So let's move ahead. This is what we have divided into, and we would be taking over here with this session. The very first, changes in rate of goods. So the council and the have passed a notification number 5/2024 central tax rates on 8th of October, applicable from 10th of October. And there are some changes in the rates of goods. So few changes that are being proposed and that are made applicable are as one for the motor car seats. Earlier it was 18%, now 28% from 10th of October. Next, there are some cancer drugs. Technical names are being given for those drugs. So earlier it was 12%, now reduced to 5%. Some extruded or expanded products, savory or salted, fried or uncooked snacks, whatever name that has been given, manufactured through some process of extrusion. So earlier it was 18%, now it has reduced to 12%. So welcome changes to all these products. There are some further services that are being exempted via notification number 8/2024. Integrated tax का ये exemption notification number. Same way we have it for the central tax also, 8/2024, and some of the exemptions that are being given are covered over here. One is for the very good exemption applicable to most of us, electricity transmission and distribution companies. When they are charging us some various charges with regards to metering equipment for rent, the electricity department also charges for the testing of meters when we ask for them that there is some faulty meter, or releasing of electricity connection, etc. All these charges they have covered for exemption, as they have clarified that these are incidental to the supply of basic activity, that is transmission of electricity and distribution of that electricity utility to the consumers. So इसको composite supply बोल के relate किया है, and hence the principal activity of electricity which is exempted, hence all these charges are also now being exempted. Next, R&D services given by the government entities or the universities. When these are given against to the college against some consideration in the form of a grant. Now, this has been notified under section 135, 1 subclause number 2 and 3 of the Income Tax Act. Yani jo university or college which are notified under these sections and they are receiving grant from the government entities or the universities for the R&D services, then that is covered under the exemption part. Next, affiliation services provided by the Central Board Education Board, that is CBSE, or the State Education Board, or any other similar body to the schools, to the colleges, affiliation activity, then that service is also covered under exemption. So no GST would be levied on these affiliation services provided by the boards to the schools. Further, exemption is continued. Isme they have said services provided by the national skill development bodies for notified training or vocational programs. Please note here it has said notified training or vocational programs only, which are being provided by some bodies like the National Skill Development Corporation or the National Skill Council for Vocational Training. When they are providing some skill development programs, and if that skill development program is covered under the notified program, then whatever the fees that is being received by them would be covered under exemption activity. So no tax would be levied. Further, import of services by an establishment of a foreign company in India, which is an airline company. So, and that too, this import is from a related person. Related person, that is a foreign company who is sitting outside India, having establishment outside India. And when the services are received in India for some consideration, then that import of services by that foreign airline company for the transport of goods or passengers, whatever that it would be, is covered under this exemption notification. So that will be also exempted. But please note, only import of services by the foreign company in India, that is airline company. ये कुछ exemptions थे जो rates में changes हुए, and then one of the most crucial thing that has been given in the previous month, which we all need to take care of now, is a clarification being issued via two circulars, circular number 234 of 2024 and circular number 236 of 2024. Two most important things where they've said it as is, where is basis. Why these was being issued, this circular? Basically, government issued this as a clarification for some situations whereby two opinions were being formed. One, some were paying it at a lower rate of tax. Lower rate includes at sometimes nil rate also due to some genuine doubts. And some were paying it at a higher rate of tax. आप कहेंगे ऐसा कुछ हो रहा है क्या? तो yes, definitely, because clarifications were needed. So doubts were there. So some taxpayers used to pay at, for an example, 5%, some at 12%. So to reduce these ambiguities, to make some clarifications and to regularize the GST for the future transactions, these two circulars have been issued with as is or as is where is basis. So circular number 236 says the as is or where is principle. Government is saying where ambiguities are there, we will accept whatever has happened. Generally, we have heard of it. हम सब सुनते हैं as is where is in case of property transactions कि जैसी प्रॉपर्टी वैसा उसको एक्सेप्ट करो, उसके साथ जो भी एम्बिग्यूटी थी, जो भी प्रॉब्लम्स है, all are being accepted as it is. The same concept is being adopted over here, and the circular says that now it will be as is where is. So whatever the payments are being done, whether at a lower rate or nil rate, it will be accepted as full settlement with no further demands for a particular date as notified. और फिर उसके बाद for future you will be need to pay the rate that is being notified. Now no ambiguities, a clear rate will be specified. So for example, 5% is given, so 5%, 12, so then 12 will be applicable, whatever the rate would be specified. For situations where higher rate has been paid, now as the government has already said, it is accepted as is where is. So higher rate is accepted as full and final. Those dealers who have paid higher rates will not be allowed any refund for that higher payment. वो lock कर दिया जाएगा. So the best benefit will be that no retrospective tax demands or refunds for the past period will be now made. So government has very clearly clarified that neither they are going to ask any demand, nor we as the dealers can come for claiming a refund for the past period, whatever that has been regularized for a particular date. So that is the welcome change, and all the ambiguities will be cleared due to this particular circular. Next part would be 234. Circular 234 under this regularization have clarified some various services whereby ambiguities were there, and they have said that what type of taxation will be used for that particular type of service. This will be effective from 11th of October 2024 unless otherwise specified in some other circular or clarification, whatever that it would be. So in the normal course, this has been made effective from 11th of October. So one of the services out of those services clarified over here, affiliation service. Now universities are providing affiliation services to the colleges, and various education boards are providing affiliation services to the schools. Now here government schools are excluded from this. These all are now taxable at the rate of 18%. Payments for the period 1st July 2017 till 21st June 2021, 17th June 2021. For this period, these are regularized as is where is basis. यानी जितना भी आपने पैसा भरा है, whether at lower rate, nil rate or 18%, that will be accepted as full and final settlement. No past demands will be raised. But for future, they have said it after this particular date, it is taxable at the rate of 18%. वो एक चीज दे दिए affiliation services. Then आगे वो taxable 18% बोल दिया है. Goods transport agency services, they are providing n number of ancillary activities like the loading, unloading, packing, temporary warehousing in case of need. All these are being charged by the GTA to the service receiver. And generally they charge it when mentioned separately. If charged separately, then it will be treated as a separate supply. But if it is a composite part, means it is necessary during the course of transport of goods, and it was necessary for loading, unloading, or the warehousing was necessary during that transportation for some or the other reason, then that is a composite supply, and this composite supply will be now taxed as per the treatment that we provide, that is RCM at the rate of 5% or under forward charge. And if it's under forward charge, then the GTA has to take it as a composite supply, 5% without ITC or 12% with ITC. So that has been now clarified that all these ancillary activities will be a part of composite supply, unless and until specifically said that this is a separate activity, not relating to transport of goods. Then that will be charged separately. Otherwise, it is a composite supply. Next, there is preferential location charges. This is a part whereby we, the dwellers, the buyers, pay to the builders during the case of construction, and while purchasing of a residential apartment or a commercial apartment property, we pay to the builder for some particular preferential things that we need. So whatever those preferential charges are being paid for purchase of that property, that will be treated as a composite supply. And these extra charges that are being paid, tax will be levied at the same rate that is being levied to the property purchase transaction. So it may be 5% for residential, if not covered under affordable housing, 12% for commercial property, or 1% if under the affordable housing. So that is also to be taken care of. Preferential location charges, a specific term being mentioned. Further, they have also said for this regularization, some more activities like flying training courses. These are covered under exemption. Helicopter passenger transport, specifically helicopter passenger transport. If it is on a seat sharing basis, then it will be chargeable at the rate of 5%. Whereas if this helicopter passenger transport is on a charter basis, then it will be taxable at the rate of 18%. So they have now clarified it. Electricity utility support services are covered under exemption. Same way, film distribution services, 18% GST for theoretical rights, regularized for the payments from July 17 till September 2021. So it is as is, where is basis पे regularize किया है और बाकी का फिर 18% पे chargeable है. So this was where we can say that as is where is basis is now going to have a clarity, have a very clear classification amongst the rates that were being earlier having different applicability, and people used to file at some 5% or nil rate or 12%. So now all is being cleared with this particular circular. So a welcome change. This has been clarified via some example also, that what is going to happen. If we take as example illustration 1 in a columnar pattern. So the first illustration says that GST is paid by some taxpayers at the rate of 5% on a particular commodity X. Some others pay it at the rate of 12%. Now, if the clarification by the council says that the rate is now finalized at 5% prospectively, that is for future. So the past amount will be regularized as is where is basis. यानी जहां पे जिसने जो पैसा भर दिया, full and final it is done. So the impact is full and final payment is done. So those who have paid at 5%, it will be treated full and final. Those who have paid at 12%, they cannot claim for refund. And for future, so for an example, if the date notified becomes 1st December 23 and further, so before that it gets regularized, and since December 23, it will be taxable at the rate of 5%. So this is how the government has tried to clarify it. Same way, if we go ahead with the rate of second illustration, some pay it at 5%, some treat it as nil because of exemption ambiguity. So they treat it as exempted and report into GST R1 as exempt. Then again, If the government clarifies it at the rate of 5%, so it will be treated as is where is basis. Thus, those who have paid it at nil will be treated as exempt till the date notified. They will not be liable to pay that 5% amount. Those who have already paid it at 5%, they cannot say कि others को nil treat कर दिया गया, उनको माफी मिली तो हमें भी माफी दो. They cannot claim it refund. And the date that will be notified. So for an example, 1st December is notified. So for all the future transactions, it will be that GST is levied at 5%, and they will not be liable to pay any GST for the past periods. It will be all treated as clear. Third illustration, जहां पे अब rate बढ़ा दिया गया. So if the government has clarified a higher rate, that is 12%, then it will be regularized as is where is basis. Here, those who have paid at 5 will be treated as full payment. No extra 7% is liable to be paid. Those who have paid at 12, again full payment, they will not be allowed to take a refund with the comparison of others. But those who have not paid anything, those who have treated it as nil, whereas it shouldn't have been, then they will be required to pay 12% for the period which has been regularized via this circular. So here it has to be made clear whether your rate that you have mentioned in the earlier GST returns, you have treated it as nil and the government has notified it or clarified it at 12%. बहुत जरूरी है कि यहाँ पे क्लैरिफिकेशन या सर्कुलर क्या बताता है, रेट क्या बोला जाता है वो देखिए, क्या एम्बिग्युइटी थी वो चेक करवा लीजिए, and accordingly we have to treat whether that is as is where is basis or as is basis. So accordingly the liability will be levied, and for all the prospective transactions the clarity has been given for the rate of tax. This is what the importance for this particular circular. After this, the second part that we are now going ahead with regards to RCM. Two new RCM points that have been made effective from 10th of October. One of which is scrap metal. RCM on scrap metal, and whereby they have said it as some 9 different entry numbers, which are covered under metal scrap from 72 till 81. And those 9 to 10 different metal scraps, if sold by the unregistered person, that is the supplier is unregistered, whereas the buyer is registered, that is the recipient is registered, then the receiver will be liable to pay RCM. What are those different metal scrap if we say? So some of those are iron and steel or articles of iron and steel, copper is there, nickel is there, aluminium, lead, zinc, tin or other base metals. Such 10 different metal scrap they have mentioned out, for which the supplier is unregistered and buyer is registered, RCM will be applicable. Further, one of the important things that is applicable on this is now even TDS. That is applicable from 10th of October. Here, if the supplier of the metal scrap, these all 10 entries, metal scrap, if the supplier is registered and the recipient is also registered, please note, RCM was applicable when the supplier was unregistered, whereas TDS will be applicable when the supplier is registered. Here, the buyer, that is the recipient, will be liable to deduct GST TDS for transactions of all these metal scrap when the supplier is also registered. So a new activity of deducting the TDS, getting yourselves registered under TDS, that is the REG 07, and then filing the GST TDS returns will now be applicable to all the registered receivers when the supplier is registered. So what is the TDS rate? TDS rate is applicable at the rate of 2%, 1% for CGST, 1% for IGST when it is intrastate transaction. And when it is interstate, it will be IGST at the rate of 2%. But the threshold limit, that is the minimum threshold limit for deducting the TDS, is 2.5 lakh. You need to apply for getting the TDS registration. That is, as a tax deductor, you need to apply in form number REG07. For this, government has already released an advisory on the GST portal on 22nd of October about registration of REG07. All the registered buyers, that is the recipients, will now need to register as a TDS deductor under REG07 form number. And then they need to file the TDS returns by the 10th of the next month, that is GSTR 7, on a monthly basis for these TDS related transactions. TDS provision, we have to note that if the supplier and the place of supply both differ from the location of the recipient, then this provision is not applicable. Please note, location of the supplier and the place of supply, and it's and. When both differ from the location of the recipient, then the TDS provision will not be applicable. ये एक बात, तो इसको पूरा summarize किया है अभी कि how the RCM provision and the TDS will be applicable in this small chart. The first situation where the supplier is registered, recipient is registered. So in this case, GST will be paid under forward charge by the supplier and TDS will be deducted by the recipient at the rate of 2%. Supplier is registered, recipient is unregistered. So here the GST will be paid under forward charge. TDS is not applicable because receiver is already unregistered. Supplier is unregistered, recipient is registered. Here reverse charge, GST will be paid on reverse charge basis and no TDS provision because supplier is unregistered. And when both the supplier and the recipient both are unregistered, then there will be no GST provision, that is neither forward charge nor reverse charge, and there will be no TDS also applicable. That has to be taken care of. But please note that once the supplier crosses his limit for getting the registration, that is threshold limit, he has to get himself registered. That has to be a compulsory activity being done. You cannot exclude that part. This was all about the RCM and the TDS provision on metal scrap. Now, RCM on another provision, that is renting of any commercial property. Please note, notification number 17/2024, which was issued on 8th of October and giving its effective date of 10th of October. At that time, they said any property. But initially, it was used any property and then it created ambiguities because any property includes movable property also. So later on, government gave a corrigendum and they said that the word any property should be read as any immovable property, and that any immovable property will be other than a residential dwelling. So now any renting activity of a immovable property other than a residential dwelling, if this service is being provided by an unregistered person and the recipient is a registered person, then RCM will be applicable. A huge impact whereby rent is being passed on a single entry basis at the end of the year for those suppliers who pass this on a single entry at the last day, but the service is being availed on a regular basis, then you need to pay the tax on RCM on a regular basis. This is going to be having a huge impact for all the dealers who are registered and paying rent on an annual basis. So that has to be taken care of. Now, try to summarize this commercial property, renting of commercial property in a chart. whereby when the owner is registered and the tenant is also registered, forward charge provision will be applicable. So the supplier will charge GST on forward charge basis. Same way, when the owner, again, supplier is registered and the tenant is unregistered, again forward charge, very clear for this. But provision comes when owner is unregistered and supplier, that is supplier is unregistered, and owner, this recipient, that is the tenant, is registered. Generally, this happens, a critical part comes when those are family transactions. Rent paid to a family member and annual rent is being given, one of the transaction, then reverse charge will be applicable. And this reverse charge has to be paid on a monthly basis because supply of service is on a monthly basis and not for annual at one stroke. No GST will be applicable when both of them are unregistered, that is the owner and the tenant. So this has to be taken care of. But if the total receipt of the owner exceeds, that is the aggregate turnover of the owner, that is the supplier, exceeds 20 lakh due to some sales or services, etc., then owner will become liable to take registration. And once he becomes registered, then forward charge will be applicable for all the commercial property transactions. One of the crucial amendments that is applicable from 10th of October 2024. So from all these returns that we are going to file from for October 24, that is for 11th of this month or the 20th of this month for the 3B, all these provisions will be applicable. We need to take care for paying the tax on RCM basis. After this RCM, the next part that is covered over here is with regards to section 7, notification number 17/2024, with regards to the applicability of some ITC provisions. Now, what are those? Time limit has been extended via introduction of a new section 16(5). The government has already mentioned a due date under section 16(4) earlier. We all used to follow that particular section 16(4) and the due date for claiming the ITC for the initial 4 years, whereby for the first year, that is financial year 17-18, the due date of 16(4) to claim the ITC was extended till 20th of April, that is basically 31st of March 2019. The March return had to be filed on 20th of April 2019, hence that 20th date is mentioned. Financial year 18-19, the due date was mentioned as 30th of September. So 20th October, the due date to file the 3B. 19-20, the due date to file the 3B was 20th of October 2020. And for financial 2021, the due date to file the 3B was 20th of October 2021. This was all for the month of September following the end of the financial year. And we used to follow all these due dates. But many a times, due to some technical problems, due to some actual complexities, the health of that dealer, whatever that reason may be, the 3B were filed late and ITC was claimed late. Many cases went, assessments went, and the orders were passed. Litigations went on, whereby the supplier is actually given the credit in 2A. We have claimed the credit. There was a genuine transaction, but only due to filing of late returns, the GST was being lost. Government recognized these all problems, and finally 16(5) subsection was being introduced, which extended for a due date for this all 4 years till 30th of November 2021. So government says that if the 3B for all these 4 years has been filed and the ITC has been claimed before 30th of November 2021, then that will be treated as valid. Now it will not be rejected. Accordingly, now whatever the assessments have been done, the orders have been passed, or the assessment is in process, respective officer will take the cognizance of this particular section, and necessary effect of ITC will be given to all the dealers, and it will be valid. The ITC will be treated as valid. So the important thing, but I already said that 3B has to be filed or has been already filed before 30th of November 2021. Then only that ITC claimed in the 3B will be treated as valid. It will be regularized. Another point, if for those dealers where the assessment was already done, or they have voluntarily reversed the ITC due to late filing of 3B as per section 16(4), they have paid the amount of reversal of excess ITC via cash or credit, whatever they have already reversed it, then they cannot claim as refund for that payment that has already been done. Before the introduction of this particular section, Finance Act 2024, section number 150, whereby this was being notified, and this date was being regularized 30th November 2021. So once this has been regularized, now those who have already settled all the taxes, you cannot claim as refund कि हमने भर दिया तो हमने क्या गलती कर दी. No, you cannot claim it. That is all settled as is, where is basis. Please understand. Only those who are into appeals or whose assessments are going on, they are going to have a benefit of this particular section, a welcome benefit for all. Further, the government has again notified into this one more section, section 16(6), specifically with regards to the revocation of your GST, which was being cancelled. It was cancelled for some reason. Suppose for these 4 years, your GST number was cancelled, and it may be for suo moto or for whatsoever reason, and you went into appeals, the litigations, and then litigation went on, and later on your number was revoked. So for an example, your number was revoked after the due date that is being given in 16(4). तो रिस्पेक्टिव ड्यू डेट के लेट हुआ. मान लो कि अभी 2021 जो हमारा पहले हमने अभी इसके पहले के इस पे कवर किया, फॉर FY 2021 the due date was 20th October 2021, and your number got revoked after 30th November 2021. So your number got activated. It was earlier cancelled, suspended, whatsoever reason, and your number got activated after 30th November 21. Then what? So you had to, once the number get revoked and your number got activated, you had to file all the pending returns for that earlier period. Since you have filed all the returns after 30th November 2021, for a reason that your number was revoked after that date, the government has introduced this section 16 subsection number 6, which says that your due date to claim the ITC will be 30th November following the end of the financial year to which that invoice or debit note relates, or the annual return, whichever is earlier. The normal provision which is applicable to all of us, 16(4) says it. Or within 30 days from the date of order for revocation of cancellation of registration. So for an example, if your number is revoked on 31st December 21, so from 31st December, within 30 days, that is 30th Jan 2022, you have to file all the returns. You should have filed all the returns, claimed all the ITC. It will be treated as valid, because section 16(6) says later of the two, 16(4) की ड्यू डेट या फिर रिवोकेशन की डेट से 30 दिन, विच एवर इज लेटर. बहुत जरूरी है, विच एवर इज लेटर. पर मान लो आपका 18-19 का रिवोकेशन 30 नवंबर के पहले ही हो चुका है, तो आपको रिटर्न्स नेचुरली 30 नवंबर 21 के पहले ही फाइल किए हुए होना चाहिए, तो ही ये क्लेम वैलिड है, अदरवाइज. बट अगेन अ वेरी वार्म वेलकम पार्ट for all those for some or the other reason, whether it may be COVID or for health issues or for whatever that reason, the returns were filed late and ITC was claimed late, and then it was being disallowed under section 16(4), welcome change, and you can claim that ITC and get the benefit to your respective dealer. GSTR 3B should have been filed within these specified dates to regularize the ITC. A procedure to claim this is given in already notification number 22 of 2024 issued on 8th of October 2024 when you need to take a benefit of this part. तो ये एक ध्यान रखना है. इन दोनों सेक्शंस को समराइज किया है यहाँ पे, and Finance Act 2024, Finance Act number 2, retrospectively from 1st of July 2017 have extended this time limit of ITC. 16(4) was being amended, and this date was being set not beyond 30th of November following the end of the financial year to which it pertains, or the date of filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. ये 16(4) ने बोला, तो 16(5) कहता है ITC is allowed for invoices related to the financial year 17-18 to 2021, that is the 4 years, if the GSTR 3B has been filed before 30th of November 21. Section 16, subsection 6 says, ITC claims if the taxpayer's registration was cancelled but subsequently reinstated, that is, it was revoked, allowing the ITC for relevant invoices filed within the specific time frame. The specific time frame was 30 days from the date of revocation order being passed or the due date given under section 16(4), whichever is later. Simultaneously, section 150 of Finance Act 2024, Finance Act number 2, says that no refund will be granted for taxes paid or ITC that is reversed voluntary or due to some order once this retrospective amendments are applicable. So वो refund भी नहीं हुआ, ये मैं सब आपसे बात कर चुका हूं, बट ये यहाँ पे समराइज किया एक शीट के अंदर पूरा, प्लीज ध्यान दीजिएगा. और रेक्टिफिकेशन का प्रोसीजर भी इन्होंने नोटिफिकेशन नंबर 22/2024 में बोल दिया है, जहां पे orders were passed for this 16(4), whether under section 73 or 74. Order is passed, you have went into appeals, or the assessment is going on and the order is yet to be passed. Respectively, we have to apply for rectification if the order is passed, and the nodal officer will take cognizance of all these sections, respective benefits will be given, and your liability may be reduced to a lot of extent, subject to necessary ITC credit is received in 2A or the earlier procedure, that is your ledger confirmations are being produced and all those things has to be taken care of. वो सारे प्रोविजंस लागू रहेंगे. मेन 16(4) का पॉइंट ध्यान रखना है. बहुत ही अच्छा वेलकम चेंज, बट वी नीड टू टेक केयर ऑफ द टाइमलाइंस ऑल्सो. प्लीज द नेक्स्ट पार्ट आफ्टर दिस, अगेन important change applicable to all of us, that is invoice management system, IMS short form, a tool which the government has given to all of us, to all the businesses, to manage and submit their GST compliant invoices. Here, accurate tax details will be claimed, automatic reporting will be happening into 3B, and the GST network claims, and we say that the flow will be very clear. It will be a seamless flow. Right from your filing of the GST return in R1, giving your credits to your customer, the recipient has to claim that ITC, ensure a proper compliance is being done within the time frame, and proper flow will be done, and the necessary tax will be paid. One of the very important things applicable with this November, that is for the returns that we are going to file for October 2024. The objective, that is first, it is applicable for 1st October onwards. major enhancement for the ITC part. Important thing that we, as the consultants, as the chartered accountants for our clients, we need to take care that all the ITC that is being claimed is genuine, that has been accepted by the recipient, and whatever the invoices or the ITC credit received in 2B is accepted, that only will be eligible as ITC. Those transactions which are rejected will not be eligible as ITC. So thus IMS is going to provide the taxpayers an opportunity to review the genuineness and authenticity of the received invoices, the ITC that is received in 2B. ये सबसे बड़ी चीज है. इस पे बहुत बड़ा एक पॉइंट रहेगा कि आपके सप्लायर ने GSTR1 जो टाइम पे फाइल किया है, IFF जो टाइम पे फाइल किया है, या फिर कुछ चेंजेस दैट इज बीइंग डन इन 1A before filing 3B by your supplier, the same would be reflected in your IMS dashboard, and then you need to accept or reject the same. So how the dashboard will look like, IMS dashboard, it will look like over here when you are going to file your 3B. Before that, you will have this dashboard, and this dashboard will have 4 to 5 different things. Here it is client-wise GST number they have shown over here, and it will say B2B transactions which are given over there, then B2B that are being amended, debit notes transactions, then debit notes that are amended, then the import related transactions, and then those which are amended. All these things will be reflected invoice number wise, and then you need to give your answer for each and every transaction, accept, reject और pending. आपको ये हर transaction के साथ before filing 3B you need to do. So when you will accept the transactions, the screen, the dashboard will look like this as shown in front of your screen. Accepted, rejected, and the status will be given there, accepted. If it is rejected, their status will be rejected. In this way that it will show. One more thing that has now started for this 3B that we are going to file before the 3B is the confirmation that is being taken by the government from all of us. This is an additional confirmation. IMS dashboard, if no action is taken by us before filing 3B, please note, before filing 3B, if no action is taken, then all the transactions that are being reflected will be treated as deemed to be accepted. Now, even if some block credit is being reflected over there, for an example, if personal purchases are being done and the ITC, the GST number was being given by the dealer, we as the consultant don't know that. Reflected into 2B, since no data is provided or no action is taken, entire ITC is being claimed, then it will be treated as deemed to be accepted. Here, that wrong ITC, that is block credit, will be accepted, and in future we may be liable to reverse it with interest. Second point, जो confirmation लिया जाएगा, we need to take care that those records from IMS which we have accepted, that will be reflected in 2B. Now, suppose for before filing R1, as on today's date, the supplier saves some transactions on a regular basis into R1. He saves it. Once the transaction is saved, it will be reflected into 2B, and the recipient can accept or reject it. So the recipient has accepted that transaction which is saved by the supplier, but he has not yet filed the R1, or he has filed the R1 after the 2B cutoff date was gone. Now, 2B cutoff date is gone means the respective date of 11th or 13th to file the IFF is gone. Now, if the return is filed on a later date, or if some transaction is changed while filing the R1, then that will not be flown into your 2B while filing your 3B. That is, you want to claim the ITC, it will not be flown into your 2B. ये ध्यान में रखना, भले ही आपको सेव होने के बाद दिख रहा था आपके 2B में, आपने उस पे एक्सेप्ट भी करके रखा था, बट आपके सप्लायर ने अगर वो लेट रिटर्न फाइल किया या रिटर्न फाइल करते वक्त कुछ चेंजेस कर दिए, तो वो चेंज होके टू बी आएगा और आपको वापस आईएमएस को चेक करके एक्सेप्ट या रिजेक्ट करना है। तो ये ध्यान देना बहुत जरूरी है। सो पॉइंट नंबर 3 says if any change by the supplier in the saved record where recipient already took some action, it will get reset and appear as a fresh record on the IMS of the recipient. A very crucial thing one needs to take care of before filing your 3B, the client's 3B. Please take care that the IMS is being properly checked, all the transactions are being accepted or rejected, and then only your 3B is being filed. If any record is deleted by the supplier from the respective return, where again you took already some transaction, then it will disappear from a IMS dashboard also. So don't means your client has to be trained properly that he should not accept any transaction which is not related to him, that with a what we can say greed that he's getting some wrong ITC, accept it so that some less ITC tax will be paid. No, no, not to be done. Please accept only clear, correct, genuine transactions. So genuine ITC is being claimed and the customer will not be liable to pay interest for a wrong ITC claim. Take care of this particular point in IMS applicable from October 24 return onwards. One of the crucial things. Now, another important amendment after this IMS, when you are filing your returns, Rule 37A has come into picture. This is for the compliance of your suppliers. Once the supplier makes his compliance, the customer's ITC will be protected. So if I say that our client is a customer, the supplier of our customer has to make all his compliances, then only the ITC will be eligible. How? We'll understand step by step. We all know the basic provision for claiming the ITC as given in section 16(2). Some conditions are being given. And those conditions say, one of the conditions says that the tax has to be paid by the supplier. Now, how we will know that tax is paid or not? That is a very crucial thing. And another condition is that we should have filed our 3B so that we can claim the ITC. So the due date for filing the 3B return for both the supplier and the recipient is 20th. So if we as the recipient are filing a return on 18th, how we'll know that the supplier has filed the return or not? Because he's going to file it on 20th. Very important thing whereby we are not aware of whether the supplier is filing a return. Another section 41 which says that it is an exception to the aforesaid condition whereby it says recipient to avail eligible ITC in the returns on self-assessment basis. So what we do, we used to do before the 2B was implemented, we used to claim the ITC that is being provided for all the genuine transactions for which we all had all the other conditions satisfied of section 16(2), and we used to claim that ITC. But then section 41 subsection 2 says that the recipient must reverse the ITC on inward supplies if the supplier has not paid the tax due on those supplies. The recipient has not, supplier has not paid the ITC. When the supplier will pay? When he is filing the 3B. अब अगर आपके सप्लायर ने 3B फाइल किया ही नहीं है, टैक्स पे ही नहीं किया है, तो सेक्शन 41(2) बोलता है रिवर्स कर दो वो आईटीसी. The ITC that you have already claimed earlier, GSTR 1 was filed by your supplier. You have received the credit in the 2B. You have claimed that ITC in 3B, but supplier has not filed 3B. That is, he has not paid the tax. आप उसका ITC क्लेम नहीं कर पाओगे. आपको अब अक्टूबर के रिटर्न से ऐसे सभी सप्लायर्स जिनका 3B, जिनका टैक्स पेड नहीं हुआ है, you have to reverse that ITC in the current 3B and you can claim it back. That is, you can re-avail that ITC once the payment is done by the supplier, one of the most important things we need to do while filing this 3B, reversing and reavailing of ITC, CBIC has issued a notification number 26/2022, which has inserted this rule 37A and now made effective. Here, how we will check whether the supplier has filed the 3B or not. तो पहले तो ये 30 नवंबर तक के आपका सारा जूना रिवर्सल हो जाना जरूरी है। पर सर 30 नवंबर कैसे सर, अक्टूबर का 3B तो हम 20 तारीख को फाइल करेंगे। So indirectly, please note that you have to file, while filing the 3B for October on 20th of November, you have to reverse all such ITC relating to the supplies for which the supplier has not paid the taxes. And GSTR 2B is now going to auto-populate such type of reversals under Rule 37A to track whether this GST has been paid by the supplier or not. So some of the steps that we need to take care of for complying with this Rule 37A is as follows. At first, the step we need to take care, identify the list of suppliers who have not filed a 3B by checking September 24 2B. If we take genuinely a note of the 2B, there is a column into 2B available, status of 3B. 3B status is given. So once we check that 3B status, we come to know that which supplier has filed the 3B or not. That is, he has paid the taxes or not. All those cases where this 3B is not filed, that is, the taxes are not paid, gather all those points, gather the total ITC that we have already claimed, and before filing this October 24 3B, that is before 20th of October, ask your supplier that file the 3B, bhaiya tu tax bhar de, 3B file kar de, then only this will be eligible to you. But for some reason, your supplier still cannot file the 3B, or he has not filed the 3B till the due date of this October 24. That is till the date when you are filing your 3B. He couldn't file for some or the other reason. It may be financial issues, it may be health problem, he is not available, he is not traceable, whatever that issue may be, we don't know. Then the ITC for such transactions has to be temporarily reversed in table number 4B2 of GSTR 3B. Compulsory reverse. And once, suppose after 1 month or 2 months, your supplier files the 3B, he comes into your contact, you have an interaction with him, and then he files the 3B, he pays all the necessary taxes, interest, late fees, everything. Then only you can reclaim your ITC, which was reversed in table number 4A5 and declaring the same details in table number 4D1 of your 3B. So I have just tried to present a screenshot of the 3B and this entire process in front of you, how this process will flow. ITC is already availed in GSTR 3B for a tax paid by the recipient. Now, our question has to be there whether supplier has filed the 3B for the said tax period till 30th of September or not. That is, if I go for financial year 23-24, then 30th of September 2024, whether the 3B has been filed till this date. If yes, no need to worry, we need to take no actions. But if the answer comes to no, then we have to ask the recipient, and we as the recipient, supplier file the 3B, but we as the recipient have to reverse the ITC in the 3B for this September or October that we are filing right now. September I am saying because it may happen that due to some reasons, if it is being pending, so now you need to reverse. If you have reversed this, yes, you have done the transaction. Another question comes, whether supplier has filed the 3B anytime after 30th of September, means उसे लेट भर दिया है, अब भर दिया, दिसंबर में भरेगा, कभी तो भी भरेगा. But if we have not reversed, ITC shall be reversed with interest under section 50. अगर अभी हम रिवर्स नहीं करेंगे और हम लेट हो जाएंगे तो हमें ब्याज भी लगेगा, ये ध्यान रखिएगा। रिवर्सल पे रिवर्सल हो गया, आपने रिटर्न कर दिया फाइल, फिर सप्लायर ने रिटर्न फाइल किया, टैक्सेस पे कर दिए, देन द क्वेश्चन कम्स, रेसिपिएंट कैन रीअवेल द आईटीसी इन जीएसटीआर 3B of the tax period subsequent to the period when the supplier has filed his 3B. सितंबर के पहले का 3B, फाइनेंशियल ईयर 23-24 का 3B उसने अब दिसंबर में फाइल करता है, मान लो इन फ्यूचर दिसंबर में फाइल करेगा, तो आप जनवरी में रिक्लेम कर पाओगे आईटीसी। मान लो उसने वो भी फाइल नहीं किया, तो फिर आपके लिए जो रिवर्सल हो चुका है इंटरेस्ट के साथ, वो आपका कॉस्ट बन जाएगा। यू कैन नॉट रिक्लेम इट टिल द टाइम ही पेज दैट, यू कैन नॉट रिक्लेम। Once he pays it, then only you can reclaim it. Otherwise, it is your cost. Please do understand this thing. Very crucial part. Now here we have to take care also, or our client has to take care in his day-to-day transaction that his supplier is filing the 3B or not. He has paid the taxes or not. और ये सारी चीजें आप 2B में चेक कर सकते हैं, दिया हुआ ही रहेगा कि उस पे whether the 3B status filed or not filed. Kindly go through with that 2B very crucially. There is a table, an example being given. Suppose the invoice date is July 22. The ITC was availed for the month of July only when it is filed in August. Supplier didn't file the 3B in July. He filed it last year in October 23. Now, what needs to be done? ITC to be reversed in 3B of September 23, October 23. Actually, I have mentioned it as 23, but it can be said as 24. Table 4B2. If you do not reverse it, it will attract interest under section 53. Please note it is 53. That is, it will be treated as a fraudulent part or willful misstatement. And then you can reclaim this ITC in the subsequent month of November or thereafter, whenever your supplier files the 3B, that is, and mention the details in table number 4A5. There's another transaction, 27th of August 2022. You claim the ITC in September 23. That is the due date as given under section 16(4). आपने सितंबर के रिटर्न में क्लेम किया जो कि 20 अक्टूबर को फाइल करना है। सप्लायर ने भी इतना लेट रिटर्न फाइल किया। Rule 37A mandates that reversal of ITC if the supplier has not filed 3B until 30th September, following the end of the financial year in which ITC was availed. In the given example, considering that the ITC in FY 23-24, this implies that supplier must fulfill their obligations by 30th September 2024. To avoid reversal. Now, why FY 23-24? Because ITC was availed in 23-24. लेट रिटर्न फाइल किया ना, तो आपने जिस दिन फाइल किया उस वक्त आईटीसी क्लेम किया, वो एक बहुत बड़ी चीज हो गई। एंड वैसा ही पार्ट आता है अगर क्वार्टरली रिटर्न फाइलिंग वालों के लिए आएगा, तो क्वार्टरली रिटर्न नवंबर का है, नवंबर 22, सामने वाले ने अक्टूबर टू दिसंबर, यू हैव क्लेम्ड आईटीसी, प्रॉपरली क्लेम्ड. Supplier filed the 3B in October 23, that is late. Then you have to reverse it and then reclaim when he had filed that return. But क्योंकि ये क्वार्टरली था, आपको पता चलेगा ये अक्टूबर टू दिसंबर 23 होने के बाद. सो नेचुरली आप जैन टू मार्च 24 में रिक्लेम कर पाओगे, उसके पहले नहीं, क्योंकि आप भी क्वार्टरली है. So this we need to take care of for all the monthly and the quarterly dealers, those who have opted for QRMP. You cannot claim in between. Now the entire quarter has to be completed and then in the next quarter you can reclaim it. So for all the quarterly, those dealers who have opted for QRMP, their reclaim will be postponed till the end of the quarter. एक point जरूरी है. Interest will be charged from the date of utilization of ITC till the date of actual reversal. यूटिलाइज तभी होगा जब आप उसको लाइबिलिटी के अगेंस्ट कंप्लीट कर दोगे. इफ द बैलेंस इज एज इट इज अवेलेबल देन इट विल नॉट बी ट्रीटेड एज यूटिलाइजेशन. ये हमें पहले ही पता है. And 37 expects the ITC to be reversed through GSTR 3B. However, if DRC 3 has been filed, then that will be taken care of. वो एक चीज और अलग है. इसी का पूरा एक टेबल जहां पे हमें 3B में रिपोर्ट करना है. What I have already said that table 4B2 we need to reverse it. ITC reversed 4B2. In one of the returns we have to reverse. Then our supplier files his 3B, pays the taxes, and subsequently we can claim it by mentioning it 4A5, that is all other ITC. And the same details are to be mentioned in 4D1, that is ITC reclaim, which was earlier reversed. तो ये बहुत जरूरी पॉइंट है, रिपोर्टिंग प्रॉपर होना. अब 3B के अंदर जब हम रिक्लेम कर रहे हैं तो 4D के अंदर भी उसको मेंशन करना भूलिएगा मत. अगर आप वो भूल जाएंगे तो वापस नोटिस आएंगी कि आपने एक्सेस आईटीसी क्लेम कर लिया है. ये कुछ मत कीजिएगा, ऐसा ध्यान दीजिएगा. दिस वॉज ऑल अबाउट रूल 37A. नाउ आफ्टर ऑल दिस पार्ट अनदर अमेंडमेंट पिछले महीने जो आ गया, दैट इज सेल्फ इनवॉइसिंग, and that is for all the reverse charge transactions effective from 1st of November 2024. One of the, again, biggest change, what I will say. Earlier, the time of supply for issuing self invoices, which was already given in the section 31 subsection 3 clause F, पहले से ही बोला था कि we need to issue self invoices, but that was not implemented because there was no specific time limit given. तो invoice later on कभी भी issue हो जाता था, and we used to claim accordingly the ITC also for the ICM transactions. But now Finance Act number 2 of 2024 has been amended, and they have mentioned a specific time limit to claim or to issue the self invoices. Self invoices for services received from unregistered suppliers under RCM. The power to prescribe a time limit for issuing such invoices is now being mentioned. With this power, section 168 जो amend किया गया, time limit दिया गया for issuing self invoices, and a new rule number 47A has been introduced via notification number 20 of 2024 CT, which states that a self invoice has to be issued within 30 days from the date of receipt of goods or services from an unregistered supplier. Please note, जहां पे भी RCM लग रहा है and the supplier is unregistered, then the receiver has to issue a self invoice within 30 days from the date of receipt of these goods or services. Important thing to be noted. Thus, time of supply gets amended accordingly, and amendment is made to section 13 subsection 3 via Finance Act number 2 of 2024, which states that the date of issuance of self invoice, that is the time of supply, will be earlier of the following. Earlier of two dates. One is date of payment to the supplier or date of issuance of self invoice, whichever is earlier. Please note, time of supply है section 13 subsection 3 amend हो रहा है services के केस में. पहले यहां पे ऐसा था date of payment to the supplier or the date of the document invoice whichever is issued by that unregistered supplier. पहले ऐसा हुआ करता था, वो अमेंड हो गया और अब वहां पे हो गया डेट ऑफ इश्यूएंस ऑफ सेल्फ इनवॉइस. और सेल्फ इनवॉइस कब इशू करना है आपको? विद इन 30 days ऑफ द डेट ऑफ रिसीट ऑफ दो सर्विसेज फ्रॉम द अनरजिस्टर्ड सप्लायर. 30 दिन में इनवॉइस सेल्फ इनवॉइस बनाना बहुत जरूरी है. और पेमेंट विच एवर इज अर्लियर, भले ही अब आपका पेमेंट पेंडिंग रहा, लेकिन अगर सर्विस पहले मिल चुकी है तो 30 दिन में आपको उसका इनवॉइस बनाना ही पड़ेगा, कंपल्सरी। नेक्स्ट, ये सेल्फ इनवॉइस बनेगा तो ये नेचुरल रिपोर्ट भी होगा आपका, और फिर ही आप उसका आरसीएम क्लेम कर, मींस आईटीसी ऑफ दैट आरसीएम यू कैन क्लेम। दूसरा पार्ट, टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई फॉर सर्विसेज फ्रॉम रजिस्टर्ड सप्लायर्स अंडर आरसीएम। नाउ नेचुरली आरसीएम में ऐसे ट्रांजैक्शंस भी है जब सप्लायर रजिस्टर्ड हो सकता है। नाउ इफ द सप्लायर इज रजिस्टर्ड बट स्टिल कवर्ड अंडर आरसीएम ट्रांजैक्शंस, then the time of supply will be earlier of the following. One is the date of payment to the supplier, or 60 days from the date of supplier's invoice. Please note, it is not self invoice. ऐसा वर्डिंग यहां पे नहीं है। यहां पे सप्लायर का 60 इनवॉइस डेट जो रहेगा वहां से 60 दिन, या फिर पेमेंट टू द सप्लायर कब किया गया है, विच एवर इज अर्लियर, इसके बेसिस पे आपका टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई डिसाइड होगा और फिर आरसीएम आपका एप्लीकेबल रहेगा। ये ध्यान रखना बहुत जरूरी है। सेक्शन 13 सबसेक्शन 3 हैज बीन अमेंडेड विथ रिगार्ड्स टू टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई फॉर सर्विसेज। एडजस्टमेंट, नाउ दिस वाज ऑल अबाउट द सेल्फ इनवॉइसिंग पार्ट, जो कि अभी आपको 1 नवंबर से लागू है, यानी कि अक्टूबर के जब आप रिटर्न्स फाइल कर रहे हैं तब प्लीज ये चेक करना मत भूलिएगा कि आपने सेल्फ इनवॉइसिंग किया है या नहीं किया है। नेक्स्ट अमेंडमेंट टू फाइल द रिटर्न, दैट इज एडजस्टमेंट ऑफ नेगेटिव लायबिलिटी। नाउ नेगेटिव लायबिलिटी कब आएगी? इट हैपेंस ओनली व्हेन योर सेल्स, टैक्सेबल सेल इज लेस, whereas there is sales returns, there is the credit notes which are on the higher side, the reversals are on the higher side, due to which there is a negative liability. Generally till today, when there was a negative liability, what we used to do, we used to report partial, then take care of that, subsequently उसको अगले रिटर्न में एडजस्ट करेंगे, फिर और आगे करेंगे, because negative figures were not being reported. But now, when the transactions of sales and the credit notes that are already reported in your R1, those will be fetched in 3B, and the negative liability will be adjusted over here. When we are going to pay the tax, वहां पे कॉलम ऐड हो गया है, एडजस्टमेंट ऑफ नेगेटिव लायबिलिटी ऑफ द प्रीवियस पीरियड, और वो नेगेटिव लायबिलिटी यहाँ पे आ जाएगी, and automatically the negative figures will be reported, and thus you will not be liable to keep on remembering that अगली बार कितना एडजस्ट करना है। ये पार्ट बच जाएगा और यहीं पे नेगेटिव रिपोर्ट हो जाएगा। सो अ वेलकम चेंज, द पोर्टल हैज नाउ इंप्लीमेंटेड एडजस्टमेंट ऑफ नेगेटिव लायबिलिटी इन टेबल 6(1) of 3B. This is effective from September 24, and the notification was already given by the CGST. Under CGST, it is 12/2024, dated 10th of July 2024. So this has already been given. Taxpayers can now adjust the negative liability where there are more amendments or some outward supplies are being adjusted for the previous tax period directly in the 3B, without keeping all those negative figures in your remembrance or in your notes and adjusting it subsequently. वो अब काम नहीं करना है, प्रॉपर रिपोर्टिंग आपका सेम मंथ में हो जाएगा। सो वेलकम चेंज फॉर दिस September month 2024. Another important change that we need to now remember and we need to train to our clients, that is B2C large transactions. While filing this R1, till today, what we used to do, that is till September, we used to have B2C large transaction, and that too if it is interstate, more than 2.5 lakh, then only we used to report it bill wise. Invoice wise, we used to report it with all the necessary details. But now this limit has been reduced to 1 lakh rupees only. So when you will file the GSTR1, into that, when you will go for B2C large, there the invoice value, one highlight will be given that it should be more than 1 lakh rupees, and interstate transaction, we need to report it bill wise. Please note, kindly amend your client, update your client that he has to now provide details for B2C large transactions having value more than 1 lakh rupees. बहुत जरूरी है ये चीज. Else अगर वही जूना रिपोर्टिंग होता रहा 2.5 लाख तक का समझ के, तो आपका GST-R1 में प्रॉपर डेटा नहीं जाएगा. ये ध्यान रखिएगा प्लीज. अक्टूबर 2024 से ये अमेंडमेंट लागू है. इसके बाद 23-24, the financial data is already completed, for which all the audits have been done, and we are about to complete all the income tax returns also. What adjustments to be done? The due date is nearby coming. If we need to avail ITC of any invoices for 23-24, which has been not claimed, skipped out, whatever it reason may be, Section 16(4) says to claim it before filing of this October 24 GSTR 3B. The due date is 20th of November. But still, the government says that the due date given is 30th November 24 or actual date of filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. Some invoices that are not yet reported or amendments to be done, anything that needs to be changed, rectifications to be done in your R1, in your 3B, as per section 37, as per section 39 or 52 for GSTR 8, everything has to be done before this 30th November or the actual date of filing of return, annual return. Similarly, the credit notes of financial year 23-24, which are not yet reported as per section 34, should be now reported before this date or 30th November 2024. So very crucial date of 30th November. सो बाय डिफॉल्ट प्लीज ये ध्यान रखिए कि अक्टूबर का आपको जो रिटर्न अभी फाइल करना है 11 नवंबर तक, जिसकी ड्यू डेट है, या फिर 20 नवंबर तक 3B फाइल करना है, प्रॉपरली अभी ही फाइल कर दीजिए. पूरा रिकंसाइल 23-24 को कर लीजिए एंड देन फाइल दीज रिटर्न्स. Don't be hasty in filing the returns that the data is received by the client and client was in hurry to file those returns, hence done it. Once done, all your chances to rectify the sales, to claim the credits, to pass report the credit notes, everything will be gone. Please take care of this part, the due date. A very important amendment which is being proposed, जैसे कि मैंने अभी कह दिया है कि IMS स्टार्ट हो गया है, आपको चेक करते जाना है कितना क्रेडिट मिलेगा, और जो क्रेडिट आएगा दैट इज विल बी रिफ्लेक्टेड इन योर 2B. वी हैव अ ड्यू डेट, वी आर ऑलरेडी फाइलिंग R1, changes to be done via that 1A, everything we are taking care of. So from January, it is being proposed that the R1 what is being filed, the IFF that is being filed, or 1A that is being done, the liability will be fetched from these returns. The ITC will be fetched from the IMS that is being accepted, actions that are being taken. And your 3B will be auto-populated and the values will be locked. This has been proposed from January 2025. Very important thing that is being proposed on October 17th via the advisory that is being issued. Please note, जनवरी से आपके 3B भी लॉक होने वाले हैं, पर ये प्रपोजल है अभी. इफेक्टिव डेट, टेंटेटिव इफेक्टिव डेट फ्रॉम January 25. So somewhere what we can say that the liabilities from your R1 or 1A will be fetched. Please file your 1A or 1 and 1A or IFF very properly. You have to take care of this. As a consultant, as a chartered accountant, you have to train your client that he should provide the proper details. If he is auto feeding it on himself, he should do it properly. Then the inward supplies using the IMS is being properly accepted. What we can say that as a conclusion, somewhere going back into the memories of 2017 when the GST was implemented, at that time there was one return being proposed which was not started, which was being postponed. Then kept in abeyance, that is GSTR 2। हमें GSTR 2 में भी ऐसा ही कुछ करना था, जहां पे बोला गया था कि आप ट्रांजैक्शंस को एक्सेप्ट या रिजेक्ट कीजिए, और फिर कुछ एडिशंस या डिलीशंस करने का मौका मिलता था। और GSTR 1, 2 ये दोनों फाइल हो जाने के बाद ही आपका 3 फाइल हो सकता था। बट अर्लियर द 2 was being postponed, it was kept in abeyance, then the 3 was being stopped, and a new return 3B was being implemented. Until today, we are filing 3B. But somewhere the entire same process of 2017 is now brought into picture. Now we are all acquainted with GST. We are acquainted with 2A and the 2B. We all know that all the returns to be filed properly so that these credits are being received. So अब ये implementation बहुत easily हो जाएगा. One of the crucial things after all these return compliances, बहुत ही बड़ी चीज जिसके लिए हम सब इंतजार कर रहे थे, जो 1 नवंबर 2024 से इफेक्टिव हो गई है, सेक्शन 128A, that is what we say it as an amnesty scheme, whereby we are having a waiver of interest penalty for those assessments which are going on, or the orders that are being passed, or the appeals that are being filed under section 73 of the act. Please note, section 74 is not covered over here. Government says we are ready to waive your interest or penalty, but for that, via this notification number 17/2024, section 128 has been brought, 128A has been brought into picture, which says and which covers only those transactions, those assessments that are going or covered under section 73 of the CGST Act. That is relating to non-fraud transactions for the initial 3 years, financial year 17-18, financial year 18-19, and financial year 19-20. These 3 years are being covered over here. Please note, उसके बाद के साल इसमें नहीं है covered. Applicable, अब transactions और scenarios आप analyze कर रहा हूं यहाँ पे. Please understand. First scenario, whereby a notice is issued under section 73(1), but order is yet to be passed, or a statement is issued under section 73(3), but order is not yet passed. If such is the case for initial 3 years, अगर ऐसा केस है तो आपको SPL form number SPL1. SPL is a special form being brought in picture for this amnesty scheme. So SPL form number 1 you have to file. Along with that, you need to give the copy of the notice or the statement that was issued to you, and the proof of payment of the liability. Liability, because section 128A states that you have to pay the entire tax that is being proposed, then only you will be eligible for the waiver of interest or penalty. Otherwise, so you have to make the proof of payment made via DRC 03. One of the situations. Next, the order was passed under section 73(9, that is the nodal officer has passed the order, and you have went into appeals under section 107, but the appellate authority order is yet to be passed, or under section 108 subsection 1, the revisional authority has not passed his order. In that case, another form that we have to use is SPL 02. This form is applicable again for a situation whereby if the appellate authority has passed an order or the revisional authority has passed an order, but no order is passed under section 1131, that is appellate tribunal. You have went into tribunal, yet the orders are yet to be passed because functional process, अभी तो tribunal form हुई है, function होंगे, सब कुछ होगा, तो वो order अभी pass होना बाकी है. Naturally फिर appeal का order तो हो गया है. Then you have to pay the tax in DRC 03. then you have to file an application in DRC 3A. What is this 3A? We are going to cover further, made effective couple of days before only, to adjust the demand which is created in electronic liability register. So these two forms to be filed step by step. First is DRC 03, pay the liability. Then file DRC 3A, that is adjust the liability. Then file SPL2, that is this application form for claiming this waiver of interest or penalty. Attach the order that was being passed, and since you had already filed an appeal, naturally either in the appellate tribunal or you had filed with the appellate authority or the revisional authority, whatever that level it was, you give the order, assessment order. Then also a document has to be given that you are withdrawing that appeal or the writ petition. So these four things need to be done. SPL2 फाइल करते वक्त आपको ये डॉक्यूमेंट्स देना पड़ेगा, तभी जाके आपका ये एप्लीकेशन एक्सेप्ट होगा। ये चीज ध्यान रखिएगा। सो सेक्शन 128A, for which we were all waiting that this amnesty scheme get started for the initial 3 years, और अपील्स फाइल करके रखिए। तो अगर आपको लाइबिलिटी मंजूर है, प्लीज पे द लाइबिलिटी, फाइल अ फॉर्म DRC 03A, then attach, while filing the SPL, that is application, attach the order, attach the withdrawal letter of appeal, and then file this SPL 02. Once these applications are being done, we all are going to naturally have a relief from the interest and the penalty that was being levied. You file your appeal, pay the taxes till 31st of March 2025. प्लीज नोट 31 मार्च तक के आपको पैसे भर देना है, और 31 मार्च तक के पैसे भरने के बाद आपको ये जो एप्लीकेशन करना है SPL के अंदर, वो 30 जून तक के करना है। एक बार आपका एप्लीकेशन हो गया, फिर इंटरेस्ट और पेनल्टी शैल नॉट बी रिफंडेड। हाँ, आपने ऑलरेडी अगर पे करके रख दिया सर कि मैंने पहले ही भर दिया था, मेरे को रिफंड करो, तो वो कुछ नहीं होगा। बट अगर आपने अभी पे किया है तो आप एप्लीकेशन करोगे फॉर क्लेमिंग दी waiver of interest and penalty. This provision, section 128A, is not applicable when there is a demand order or notice is being issued for recovery of erroneous refund. उसके लिए प्रोविजन लागू नहीं है। Another thing, whatever the appeal that is being pending, I have already said, अगर appellate authority पे या कोर्ट लेवल पे कहीं पे भी पेंडिंग है तो आपको पहले उसका विड्रॉल भी करना पड़ेगा, और उसी के बाद ये सब होगा। अदरवाइज दिस विल नॉट बी बेनिफिटेड। ठीक, हाँ, अगर आपके कोई भी अपील कंक्लूड ही नहीं होती है, आप विड्रॉल नहीं करते, तो डायरेक्टली फाइल कर दोगे इसके अंदर एप्लीकेशन, तो ये स्टैंड नहीं होगा, ये रिजेक्ट हो जाएगा। ये भी ध्यान रखना। प्रोसीजर जो दिया गया इस पे रूल में, वो यही जो अभी आपसे डिस्कस किया कि आपको SPL1 या SPL2 30 जून तक फाइल करना है। लेकिन उसके लिए पहले आप, वेदर यू आर प्रॉपर ऑफिसर इज नॉट सेटिस्फाइड विद द एप्लीकेशन, अब कब नहीं होगा। बेसिकली आपने एप्लीकेशन तो कर दिया SPL1 में, SPL2 में, अब ऑफिसर के डेस्क पे आया है, और दो सिचुएशंस, एक ऑफिसर सेटिस्फाई हो रहा है आपके एप्लीकेशन से क्योंकि आपने सारा टैक्स भर दिया है, आपने डॉक्यूमेंट्स प्रॉपर अटैच कर दिए हैं, तो फिर ऑफिसर एक न्यू फॉर्म SPL5 में ऑर्डर इशू करेगा within 3 months from the date of your application. Please note, within 3 months from the date of your application. 30 जून से 3 महीने मत पकड़ना। मान लो आपने एप्लीकेशन 20 अप्रैल को किया, तो वहां से 3 मंथ्स पकड़े जाएंगे, और आपका एक ऑफिसर एक ऑर्डर इशू करेगा SPL5 में that he has accepted your application and the case will be closed. लेकिन अगर ऑफिसर आपके एप्लीकेशन से सेटिस्फाइड नहीं है, बिकॉज यू हैव नॉट पेड द टैक्सेस और यू हैव नॉट अटैच्ड द ऑर्डर और सम अदर डॉक्यूमेंट, देन ही विल इशू यू अ नोटिस इन SPL3 विद इन 3 months फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ योर एप्लीकेशन। पहले वो आपको नोटिस देगा कि आपके इस पे कुछ डिफेक्ट आया है, फिर आपको उसका जवाब देना है इन SPL4 इन 1 month। हमारे पास सिर्फ एक ही महीना है जवाब देने के लिए, फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ द SPL 03. Or once we give our answer, if we have given our answer and if the officer is all satisfied, तो अगर वो satisfied है तो वो SPL 5 इशू करेगा 3 महीने के अंदर एंड द केस विल बी क्लोज्ड। लेकिन अगर ऑफिसर फिर भी आपके जवाब से satisfied नहीं है, लास्ट, तो फिर he is not satisfied with your reply, then SPL 7 will be issued within 3 months from the date of filing of our reply and he will reject our application. अब अगर आपका एप्लीकेशन रिजेक्ट हो जाता है तो ये ध्यान रखिए, आपने जो वेवर क्लेम किया है ब्याज का, इंटरेस्ट का, पेनल्टी का, आपको वो भरना लागू हो जाएगा। टैक्स तो आप ऑलरेडी भर चुके हो, तो बचा क्या? इंटरेस्ट और पेनल्टी बचा, वो आपको भरना लागू होगा। बट अगर वो रिजेक्ट होता है तो इसलिए प्लीज ध्यान रखिएगा कि आप जब एप्लीकेशन कर रहे हैं SPL 1 में, SPL 2 में, प्रॉपर डॉक्यूमेंटेशन पूरा अटैच्ड हो, आपने टैक्स प्रॉपरली पूरा भर दिया है, ये प्लीज ध्यान रखिएगा, फिर ही कीजिएगा, हड़बड़ाहट मत कीजिएगा। डोंट बी हेस्टी इन फाइलिंग ऑल दोस फॉर्म्स। This was all about section 128A, that is the amnesty scheme. We are over here with one of the latest amendments, or the, what I would say, advisory issued a couple of days before, that is about DRC 03A. What does this DRC 03A says? 03. First, now they have started one tab into 3A and they say that adjustment of payment made through DRC 03, उसके लिए नया फॉर्म चालू हुआ है 3A। 3A का मतलब ये है, शुरू में ऐसा हुआ है इनिशियल ईयर्स के अंदर, बहुत सारे हमारे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट brothers के साथ हुआ होगा, brothers and sisters who might have filed this thing, that instead of paying the liability from the tab named payment towards demand, we might have directly paid the liability in DRC 03, भर दिया, रेफरेंस दे दिया that against that order passed in DRC 07, 8 or MOV 9, which was for the e-way bills, MOV 9 and MOV 11, या अपील में अपील का 04 वाला फॉर्म इशू हो गया है और हमने लाइबिलिटी 03 में भर डाली, DRC 03. We have attached the order copy, we have mentioned the reasons while filing the DRC 03, we have paid the taxes or the liabilities whatever being given, everything done, but not utilizing the tab payment towards demand. Because we haven't done this properly, the liability is still pending in electronic liability register. We have paid the taxes. So government has came with this welcome form and they are saying that DRC 03A, whereby we need to select one particular point highlighted in the above picture, adjustment of payment made through DRC 03. We need to fill this form. Then we need to mention all the necessary details, that against which order we had filed this DRC 03, when this DRC 03 was being filed, give the references and submit this 3A. Once this 3A is done, the liability that is pending in the electronic liability register will be nullified, will be removed. But अगर ये नहीं किया तो वो liability pending ही रहेगी, ये ध्यान रखिएगा। तो बहुत अच्छा वेलकम चेंज है, एक फॉर्म आया है। We need to now, everyone need to go through with that. Has in the past by any of us made such type of a error whereby we have paid the taxes via DRC 03. Actually, we have cleared the liability, but not using the tab payment towards demand. हमने वहां से ना करते हुए डायरेक्टली DRC 3 से किया। अगर ऐसा कुछ किया है तो प्लीज आपके रिकॉर्ड्स चेक कर लीजिए और ये 3A को फाइल करना मत भूलिएगा। ये 3A वाला फॉर्म इफेक्टिव किया गया है 1 नवंबर 2024 से। इसका एडवाइजरी कुछ ही दिन पहले आया है, प्लीज ध्यान दीजिएगा। पर अभी शायद ये इफेक्टिव फॉर्म अभी पोर्टल पे स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ है, एक बार चेक करना पड़ेगा। बट स्टिल this is a welcome form available so that the liabilities all are clear. अनदर पार्ट, एक एडवाइजरी आ चुकी है, जीएसटी ई सर्विसेज का एक ऐप ला रहा है टू रिप्लेस द ई इनवॉइस क्यूआर कोड ऐप। वी ऑल नो दैट ई इनवॉइसेस जब इशू होते हैं तो उस पर क्यूआर कोड आ रहा है, static, dynamic, whatever that it is. And we as the clients or the consultants or the officers can scan that QR code and get the details of the invoice, whatever that is being related. तो उसका जो ऐप था वो ऐप बदल दिया गया है, and a new app will be soon available to us, which we can download through the Play Store. And this app is named as e-services app. An advisory was being issued by the GSTR on 1st of October 2024 about this app, and it will have some features like e-invoice verification, whether that is right or wrong. We can track its QR code, just scan that QR code, put it into that app, and you will be able to verify whether that is real or not. GSTIN or the PAN-based search can be done, correct GSTIN is mentioned or not. Return filing history can be checked in that app itself. Some text or voice can be put, and on that basis also we can check. यानी हर एक चीज को टाइप करना ही जरूरी नहीं रहेगा, आप उस पे एक रिकॉर्ड का बटन भी आ जाएगा, and you can just feed that voice or the text, and also you can do that. Some results. So these are some of the features that advisory says that e-services app will have it. So once this app is available on the Play Store, definitely it will be very helpful for all of us, for the clients, to check various details about the client or the GSTIN which we are having. So one of the welcome thing again. Next, there is a time limit for e-invoices to be reported. Currently, the time limit for the e-invoices to be reported is applicable for those dealers who are having an aggregate annual turnover more than 100 CR. And currently that time limit for such dealers is 30 days from the date of your actual transaction. Within 30 days, you need to report it on the IRP portal. तो 100 करोड़ के ऊपर के डीलर्स के लिए ये लागू है. All the small dealers, those who are having a turnover of more than 10 CR up to 100 CR, टेंशन नहीं है, अभी तो टाइम लिमिट अनलिमिटेड है. But now an advisory has been issued 2 days before, that is on 5th of November 2024, and the government has proposed and very clearly said that all the dealers who are having an aggregate annual turnover of 10 crores or more will now be liable to report the e-invoice on the IRP portal within 30 days only, with effect from 1st of April 2025 onwards. So naturally, आज जिन्हें ई-इनवॉइस के नियम लागू है, 10 करोड़ के ऊपर का वॉल्यूम और आज लागू है, तो नेक्स्ट ईयर ये ध्यान रखिएगा कि आपको ई-इनवॉइस 30 डेज के अंदर ही बना लेना है और आपको IRP पोर्टल पे उसको रिपोर्ट कर देना है. If you are not reporting it into IRP portal within the designated timeline, naturally आगे उसके repercussions जो बोले हैं, जो penalties बोला है, जो GSTR1 के पॉइंट्स है, वो सब लागू हो जाएंगे. Please take care of all these points with effect from 1st of April 2025. 5 months before only the government has said that this will be applicable. Kindly update your client to these necessary changes. E-invoices to be reported, just a tabular part what I have tried to show. If your current client has an annual turnover of more than 100 CRs, naturally e-invoice is mandatory to them. आज ही mandatory है. But report time आज ही बोले हुआ है. Within 30 days, you have to report it on the IRP portal. And this 30 days timeline started with effect from 1st of November 23. किसके लिए? Those who are having a turnover more than 100 CR. But now the proposal, the changes that are being there is those who are having a turnover about 10 CR, e-invoice तो सभी इशू कर रहे हैं, but अब वो 30 दिन में इशू करना पड़ेगा with effect from 1st of April 25. जिनका टर्नओवर 5 CR के ऊपर है बट बिलो 10 CR, that is between this range, then they are issuing e-invoices, but there is no timeline for this. Thus इफेक्टिव डेट तो कुछ है ही नहीं, टाइमलाइन नहीं, वो 30 दिन का 50 दिन भी हो गया लेट तो दे कैन इशू इट, बट प्लीज उनको टाइमलाइन नहीं। और बिलो 5 CR वालों के लिए तो ई इनवॉइस वैसे ही मैंडेटरी नहीं है, उनको वॉलेंट्री है, वो जब मीन्स इफ दे वांट टू डू दे कैन डू, अदरवाइज नो। सो प्लीज ये ध्यान रखिएगा कि चेंजेस जो हैं प्रपोज्ड अबाउट ई इनवॉइसेस। एंड दिस वाज ऑल अबाउट व्हाट आई हैव ट्राइड टू कवर, द अमेंडमेंट्स मेड इन द लास्ट मंथ which are applicable from November, points that we need to take care of while filing the returns for the month of October currently. ये सभी चीजें that I tried to cover. Any questions, any queries, ready to definitely talk with you all. Sir, over to you, sir. Sir, your mic is mute.
थैंक यू सर, वेरी वेरी थैंक यू। और बहुत अच्छा नॉलेज आपने हम सबको स्प्रेड किया। दिस इज द वेरी रिलेटफुल एंड वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग सब्जेक्ट। दिस इज द वेरी हेल्पफुल फॉर द ऑल द डेलीगेट्स। नाउ इज द क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम द सागर अग्रवाल of CIRC. Any possibility of revival of GST audits?
So currently there is no such possibility, neither anything has been said by the government. पर जैसे ही कुछ आएगा तो जीएसटी ऑडिट्स आ ही जाएंगे।
So
If I'm
next
not wrong,
question
you
is
are talking about, Sagar sir, you are talking about GSTR 9C that we used to audit couple of years before. We used to certify couple of years before. Are you talking for that?
next is from the CA Pratap Sinha Kulkarni ji. How to obtain refund of balance in credit ledger?
Sir, section 54 is very clear for this. They have given some criteria who can apply for refund. If your transaction, if your client is having those situations covered like supply to the SEZ or export sales, inverted duty structure, something like that, then you can claim the balance available in the credit ledger as a refund. Otherwise, there is no refund for the ITC available in the credit ledger. उसके रिस्पेक्टिव फॉर्म्स फाइल अप करना है, और फॉर्म्स फिलअप करने के बाद में नेसेसरी ऑफिसर आपको फिर क्वेरीज कर सकते हैं. ही मे आस्क यू टू हैव this hearing, personal hearing, and then the refund may be approved. And if everything is all straightforward, very clearly the refunds are being given. But subject to you are covered under the conditions that are given under section 54.
Next question is from the Virendra Kumar ji Kakkad. If registered person is getting LIC commission, then such liable to raise invoice.
Sir, LIC commission, if we are if we go through with section 9(3), that is RCM, and the provisions that are given under RCM and the services that are notified, there they have already covered that LIC agent is covered under this reverse charge mechanism, and the service receiver, that is the company who is providing the insurance services, is liable to pay the RCM. Now, you as the agent, the person who is your agent, if is not registered under GST, then the company will be liable to issue self-invoicing. And if you are already registered under GST for some other transactions also that you are doing, or you're having some other businesses apart from the LIC agency, then you are registered, then you will be required to issue a normal invoice. No tax will be paid by you. Tax will be paid by the company itself under reverse charge, but invoice will be issued by you if you are registered. That is, if the agent is registered.
Next question is from the Sridhar Natraj. CGST officer started issuing notice now for scrutiny books of accounts for financial year 2018-19 to financial year 2019 to 23. That is for 5 years under the section 65. Taxpayers are overburdened of this due to submission of the details of 5 years. within 15 days of the department.
Sir, so basically, when the audit notice is being issued, at first we need to go through with the date whether this notice can be issued for the first year, what you said, of 18-19. If not, then that notice gets void if the due date is over. Naturally, for all the other years, when the date is available, when the due date is available, time barring is not done for the recent years, that is 21-22, 22-23, all these years. We have to give a reply if it is only for those 3 years. But as you said, it is for 5 years. Time barring has to be checked first. If it is time barred, then the notice is void ab initio. We can go for that reply. The notice is not proper, and the remaining years can be reverted, but not for the time barring years. ये बेसिक चीज है, बट टाइम बार्ड है तो कोई टेंशन नहीं है, बट टाइम बार्ड नहीं है तो आपको रिप्लाई तो सभी देना पड़ेगा. सिर्फ इतना बेसिक पार्ट आ जाता है दैट ड्यूरेशन व्हाट दे आर गिविंग इज ऑफ 15 days or 20 days, which is very hasty. All the work has to be done within this short time span. You can have an adjournment if the officer gives. If not, then we have to present all the necessary answers with the necessary documentation or the proofs that we have in hand. वो जहां लागू है वो देना पड़ेगा, वो एक चीज.
Sridhar Nataraj has another question also. Department started issuing so-called notice under section 74 instead of under section 73 because of time limit of notice. There are serial of questions from Sridhar sir. How to handle earlier years negative liability in GSTR 3B, that is credit note pertains to earlier years disclosed in GSTR 1 but negative figure not appearing in GSTR 3B earlier.
सर, मैं पहले ये क्वेश्चन की बात कर लेता हूँ. नेगेटिव लाइबिलिटी हैज बीन स्टार्टेड विथ इफेक्ट फ्रॉम September 24. So as I already said when we were discussing on this point, in earlier years we used to report partial amount in a particular month, then the partial amount in the next month, and you used to adjust like that. This lead to differences between the amount that was reported in R1 and the amount that was reported in 3B. And then we have to reconcile all those things for the earlier years. Notice अगर आता है तो we have to reconcile, we have to present our details and get it cleared. Naturally वो पहले का भी नहीं आएगा. अभी जो आएगा negative liability, that will be for the month of September 24 onwards only. So that will be reconciled over year and year itself. Rest for earlier years, the process that we used to follow, reconciling all the details, the R1, the 3B, taxes paid via DRC 03, anything like that, वही प्रोसेस फॉलो करना है, उस पर कोई ऑप्शन नहीं. ये हो गया एक. And the other question about section 74 notice is issued instead of 73. Actually, that should not be done. That instead of, if your transaction is not required under section 74, यानी वो genuinely under 73 है, तो ऐसे जजमेंट्स हैं जहां पे हम वो जजमेंट्स का रेफरेंस देके बोल सकते हैं कि ये 74 का ट्रांजैक्शन इट इज वॉइड, इट इज वॉइड. बट अगर कहीं पर भी एक पॉइंट कवर होता है दैट इट गेट्स इनटू विलफुल मिसस्टेटमेंट, फ्रॉड और समथिंग लाइक दैट, देन 74 गेट्स अट्रैक्टेड. वी एज द कॉमन प्रैक्टिशनर वी ऑलवेज सी दैट ये जानबूझ के किया गया है, बट we need to see what transaction is there, whether that was purposefully claimed excess ITC purposefully claimed, then that is a genuine fraud, willful misstatement that we are claiming excess ITC even if not eligible. अब आप कहेंगे एलिजिबल कहां से, तो 2A 2B हमें बहुत अच्छे से पता है क्या एलिजिबल है क्या नहीं. तो why we are claiming excess ITC, that we need to take care of. If it is for the earlier years, then ledger confirmations and everything is there. तो हमें पहले तो ये जज करना बहुत जरूरी है कि सेक्शन 74 में वो कवर हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है. अगर नहीं हो रहा है तो नेसेसरी जजमेंट्स के रेफरेंसेस देना है और references देने के बाद we can say that notice issued under section 74 is void. But genuinity है तब, otherwise नहीं. Otherwise तो 74 के अंदर ही जवाब देना पड़ेगा.
Next question is from the Riya Agrawal. Is e-invoice applicable for the inward supply liable for RCM?
As such, no. Because e-invoice will be issued by the supplier who is having an aggregate turnover in the preceding year for more than 5 years. So जब RCM है और अगर आपका सप्लायर रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है या फिर आपके सप्लायर का टर्नओवर 5 करोड़ के नीचे है, बिलो 5 करोड़, then e-invoice is not at all applicable. If your supplier is having a turnover of more than 5 crore but still covered under RCM, then yes, e-invoice will be applicable. Their tax will be zero because RCM is yes. But you need to check whether the supplier is having a 5 crore turnover or not. If your client itself is a supplier and if he is having a turnover of more than 5 CR, then yes, definitely the e-invoice provision will be applicable.
Next is from the Sridhar Nataraj also. Can we claim ITC on RCM paid along with interest on show cause notice issued by department pertains to earlier years?
So not on the show cause notice. How for a interest we can claim? We can claim the ITC for the RCM that is paid and that too before issue of show cause notice. आपने जो पहले से टाइम पे भर दिया है RCM, उसी का ITC आप क्लेम कर पाएंगे. एक बार नोटिस आ जाता है, असेसमेंट प्रोसीडिंग्स आर गोइंग ऑन एंड देन यू आर पेइंग द RCM, यू कैन नॉट क्लेम द ITC फॉर दैट RCM. ये पहले से ही क्लैरिफाई किया गया है. RCM का भी क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा और जो इंटरेस्ट पे किया वो भी नहीं मिलेगा, क्योंकि नोटिस आने के बाद असेसमेंट के दौरान यू आर getting an idea that you need to pay the RCM and then you are paying it. So that ITC for that RCM will not be eligible. Only the RCM which is already paid by you within time for a particular year voluntarily, that is why you are eligible to claim the ITC. Otherwise, for not.
Sridhar sir, next question is credit not disclosed in GSTR1 but net off in GSTR3B. Whether GST liability will arise on it for not disclosing?
Sir, actually liability will not be there, but section 37 says that proper reporting has to be done. So that reporting will not be there. Naturally, officer may raise a notice and you may need to prove all the necessary details. It will be all on the part of the officer and then the necessary judgments need to be taken care of. But section 37 very clearly says that proper reporting has to be done in GSTR1 or in GSTR3B. That section 39 says it. You have done the effect of credit note in 3B, but you haven't filed the data in R1. So proper reporting is not there. Officer may say that there is a liability. You have to prove by giving all the necessary records, the audited books, and all the credit note details, everything. Then only it may happen that he may accept your contention and the assessment may be done.
Next is from the Ganesh. GST not paid in financial year 2023-24 can be paid on October 24 return.
Sir, pardon the question.
No, this is the complete. GST not paid in financial year 2023-24 can be paid on October 2024 return.
Definitely, sir. As per section 16(4), the due date for making all the payments of 23-24 or to claim the ITC is 30th of November 2024. That is 30th November following the end of the financial year. So while filing the October 24 return R1 and then the 3B, you can pay the necessary taxes that you haven't paid for 23-24. But please note, you may be liable to interest payment if the transactions were reported and not paid till date, or you are reporting a transaction very late in current R1, then also interest may be applicable for late reporting of the liability. So while you are adjusting all these things right now in October 24 GSTR 3B, kindly do not forget to pay the interest also along with this late payments.
CA Bharat Singhal is questioning that now one amendment done in table 8A of GSTR 9, where ITC from GSTR 2B is reflected, then how can we deal with, as it might have ITC of previous year, that is 22-23, and also it might not have some ITC of financial year 2023-24, which have reflected in financial year 2024-25.
Sir, at the very first part for 22-23, even if the ITC was there in 2B, 99% it wouldn't have been there, because once the due date is gone, we are not allowed to report in R1. So 22-23 का तो अभी होगा ही नहीं. But while you are auditing and filing, means reconciling the data in GSTR 9, point number 8A, the amendment that has came in the previous month, that now 8A will fetch the values from 2B for the financial year 23-24. Naturally, 23-24 2B contains or may contain data of previous year, that is 22-23. So there already is a point in GSTR 9, ITC claimed in next year, and we used to report ITC of the previous year. तो आपने 22-23 में पहले से ही बोल के रखा होगा ना कि 23-24 में आपने क्या क्लेम किया है. So when you have already done, that can be reconciled of the earlier year, referring to the GSTR 9 of 22-23, where we have said that we are claiming ITC in the next year within that necessary time frame and reconcile it over here. तो वो आपका reconciliation एक बनेगा, and then we have to give it in GSTR 8. A में तो fetch हो जाएगा, then 8C or D point is there, whereby we have to say it, adjustments of the previous year.
CA Pragadi San questioning that RCM reporting, is it mandatory in GSTR 1 document summary? What are the consequences if not reporting?
So, pardon the question again. RCM
Document
reporting?
RCM reporting is mandatory in GSTR 1 document summary. DOCs. What are the consequences if not reported?
Sir, if not reported, the amendments that are now being proposed, this will lead that we will not be able to claim the ITC till the self-invoicing is not being reported properly, and we haven't claimed the ITC. We couldn't be able to claim the ITC subsequently in the 3.
Now, SC Jain, if tax paid and demand notice issued for interest and penalty only, will it be covered under amnesty scheme?
If tax paid
and demand notice issued for interest and penalty only, will it be covered under amnesty scheme?
Yes, आप अप्लाई कर सकते हैं कि आपका टैक्स पेड है, तो ये आप अप्लाई कर सकते हैं कि अगर आपका सिर्फ इंटरेस्ट और डिमांड का नोटिस है, इफ द नोटिस ऑर्डर इज ओनली रिलेटिंग टू इंटरेस्ट एंड डिमांड and you have tax already paid it, then you can apply. But the tax is paid right now. Right now, you have the interest and penalty is being issued for late filing of returns or for late filing of the taxes, late payment of taxes. Then no, then that is not covered over here. Late payment of taxes के लिए इंटरेस्ट दिया हुआ है तो नहीं. ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ असेसमेंट आपने अगर अभी ये टैक्स भर दिया है तब ये हो सकता है, लेकिन आपने ऑलरेडी भर के रखा था ड्यूरिंग द ऑडिट GSTR 9 फॉर सम इयर्स, you haven't paid the interest, then no, then that is not there.
Sri SC Jain is questioning, if tax paid and demand notice issued. No. Amit Kumar is whether self-invoicing is applicable in RCM paid under freight charges?
So self-invoicing applicable to all category of RCM, whether that is for freight or for any other RCM part. We need to now be cautious with and check whether the GTA is registered or not. If GTA is registered, then he is already going to give that invoice and we are just directly going to pay the RCM. But if GTA is not registered, then self-invoicing is applicable.
Mr. Pragistan said that what will be the effect if we don't accept credit note in IMS?
A very big issue. If credit note is not accepted in IMS, it is rejected. Two things need to be taken care of. Sir, whether that was a genuine transaction and mistakenly rejected, or whether that was actually a wrong reporting in the R1. Finally, it will lead that you are not reversing the ITC because you have rejected it. But then the supplier will also be not allowed to reduce that credit, to reduce that liability because we have rejected it or the recipient has rejected it. आप देखिए आईटीसी के रिस्पेक्टिव सेक्शंस में पहले ही बोला गया है when we are talking about reversals, section 42, 43 and everything, that the reversal and even section 34 about the credit notes, that if the recipient reverses the ITC, then only the supplier is allowed to reduce that credit, that liability. Otherwise, the liability will not be reduced. So here, while taking action on the IMS of credit notes, we have to be very cautious that genuinely the credit note is correct, do accept it. If the credit note is not correct, then only reject it. गड़बड़ी नहीं होनी चाहिए क्योंकि आपके सप्लायर को भी वो तकलीफ होने वाली है बात.
Mr. Mesh Kumar Totlaji questioning that a doctor is supplying medicines to admitted patient in his hospital and for medicines charging in bill, whether he need to register for GST and pay tax.
So if the supplier is
doctor is supplying medicines
to
the admitted patients in the hospital and for the medicines charging in bill, whether he need to register for GST and pay tax.
Sir, if the entire is healthcare service and the healthcare service includes medicine charges for the inpatients, no separate billing is there, it is into the entire value, then it is exempt service. Again, for that exemption, we need to check that whether it is covered for those medical practices covered in India or not and all those eligible transactions. So yes, it is exempt. But अगर उसका एक separate medical bill is being given to them, which is given by the medicine shop, that is medical shop, then naturally the tax liability will be applicable as per the taxes to that medicine. Life-saving drug hai, regular drug hai, what type of drug it is. It has to be taken care of. Then as per the medical shop bill. So for that purpose, registration may be needed if that medical shop is a separate entity and the hospital is a separate entity. But if entire thing is as a package given into a single bill, then no registration because exemption is there.
Mr. Ajay Garg is questioning that we paid RCM in the year when accrued earlier, but the party filed late and it is reflected in following year, which show excess claim. Then what will do in such case?
So party has filed late R1 and you have claimed the ITC before. That is as per the whatever your accounting records are there. Now, as per section 16(2)AA, we are allowed to claim ITC that is reflected in 2B, that to eligible ITC. Now, if you are claiming more than the 2B part, and that to eligible ITC ज़्यादा claim कर रहे, then we are liable to reverse that with interest. Now, suppose you are claiming excess ITC in April 24 and your supplier filed his return currently in September 24. then you already reverse it with interest, and in this month you claim it. पर आप ज्यादा क्लेम कर रहे हैं, 2B में आ गया उससे ज्यादा, वो अलाउड नहीं है। प्लीज आप आपके पहले सप्लायर से बात कीजिए टू फाइल द करेक्ट R1 so that you are eligible for the respective credit, and then only you claim the ITC. Without that, please do not claim the ITC, otherwise reversals will be applicable with interest.
Mr. Sudham Sahu questioning that ITC under RCM claimed in 3B, but mistakenly RCM in output table removed. Now what to do?
RCM
ITC under RCM claimed in 3B, but mistakenly RCM in output table removed. Now what to do?
सर आउटपुट टेबल में आपने रिपोर्ट नहीं किया तो पहले भर दो, रिपोर्ट कर दो। और अगर भर भी दिया है, सिर्फ रिपोर्टिंग छूट गया है, then that is a problem because you have paid the ITC, this RCM, so cash ledger has a balance, but you haven't reported in 3B, that is output liability, directly claimed ITC, so you have excess ITC available. So now you report it in the 3B and adjust that cash balance available. आपका कैश बैलेंस तो बाकी रहा होगा ना, क्योंकि आपके क्वेश्चन से यही समझ में आया that you haven't reported in 3B at the output column, but you have claimed the ITC. तो ऐसे टाइम पे लाइबिलिटी तो भरी दी होगी ना आपने, चालान तो पहले ही बनाया होगा। और मान लो चालान भी नहीं भरा है, तो now in the current month pay the चालान and interest also is applicable because you have claimed ITC. ITC पहले क्लेम कर लिया, चालान भरा ही नहीं है, तो चालान लेट भर रहे तो ब्याज के साथ भर दीजिए अब उसको।
If the customer, Mr. Ajay Garg is questioning that if the customer return goods but goods is not received, then what we have to do?
If the goods are not received,
return goods is not received.
अच्छा, रिटर्न गुड्स इज नॉट रिसीव्ड, सर इन प्रोसेस, इन ट्रांजिट है क्या रिटर्न गुड्स? सिचुएशन कहां पर है? सिर्फ गुड्स रिटर्न निकल गए तो नेचुरली फॉर द रेसिपिएंट इट इज परचेज रिटर्न, फॉर द सप्लायर इट इज सेल रिटर्न, बट स्टिल येट द गुड्स आर नॉट येट रिसीव्ड बैक। जिस मंथ में जब वो रिसीव बैक होंगे, देन यू नीड टू रिपोर्ट द क्रेडिट नोट्स, supplier will reduce his liability and recipient can reverse the ITC, should reverse the ITC. But ये सब कब होगा? जब finally the goods are received back.
Mr. Yatendra Kumar Malik questioning that what happens if unregistered supplier of service is unregistered issued invoice? RCM input self invoice still be applicable?
सर RCM will be applicable सर। मैं क्वेश्चन में एक ही चीज की क्यों एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा? सेल्फ इनवॉइसिंग एक नई चीज आई है, बट RCM भरना है, एंड देन ओनली पे द लाइबिलिटी, इशू द सेल्फ इनवॉइस, पे द लाइबिलिटी एंड क्लेम द ITC अबाउट RCM.
Sir, it is all about the questioning.
Okay. From the thank you sir for all the questions, all the attendees and the participants for lot of your questions. I hope I was able to clear all your doubts. I hope I was able to give you all the necessary amendments that are being made effective from October, issued in the month of October and now effective. Please do take care while filing all the returns or all the compliances of your client. Make them, educate them so that proper GST compliances are being done. Thank you again to the CMP, to the committee for members in practice, to the chairman and the vice chairman for giving this opportunity that I can present my views, my thoughts on this crucial topic recent GST amendments in 2024.
थैंक यू केवल सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। बहुत अच्छा रहा आपका सेशन, और हम सबको बहुत मतलब इंटरेस्ट रहा, बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक था। थैंक यू सर।
Yes, sir.